Hey, welcome back to Civil War Relics, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite buttons, and it's the Irish Jasper Greens of Savannah. So, the Irish Jasper Greens of Savannah was named after a man named William Jasper. He was a sergeant in the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War, and during the Battle of Sullivan's Island, South Carolina, in 1776, he earned fame by climbing a parapet under enemy fire to reattach his company's flag after the flagpole was destroyed. For his actions, he was commended by John Rutledge, the then president of South Carolina. Unfortunately, he was later killed in action during the siege of Savannah on October 9th, 1777. And behind me is an image of William Jasper replacing the flagpole. And on February 2nd, 1888, they placed a monument up honoring Jasper in Madison Square, Savannah, Georgia. And this is a picture of it. It's just a rough one. But back to the Irish Jasper Greens. Before the Civil War, there was a growing population of Irish immigrants coming to Savannah in search of work. To help them feel more part of their new home, many of these young Irishmen got together in 1842. They formed their own military unit and named it the Irish Jasper Greens in honor of William Jasper, the Revolutionary War hero. They were officially recognized by the state February 1843, and soon after were chosen to represent Georgia during the Mexican-American War in 1846. I don't have much information on them during that time period. But once Georgia seceded from the Union, these battle-tested veterans promptly volunteered for duty. During the early months of 1861, the two companies that made up the Irish Jasper Greens helped garrison the river batteries, including Fort Pulaski. Fortunately for these men, they were not at Fort Pulaski when it came under siege in April 1862. But with the fall of Fort Pulaski, the defense of Savannah now moved closer to the city and centered on Fort Jackson. The unit was now stationed at Fort Batterley Lee, a large earthen fort built next to Fort Jackson along the Savannah River. And from what I've read, life at Fort Batterley Lee was pure hell, that it was nothing but trenches with cannons that weren't placed properly, and more men died of poor conditions and illness than the war took. But in May of 1864, the 200 remaining members of the Irish Jasper Greens were called to join General Joseph E. Johnston's Army of Tennessee in his attempt to defend Atlanta. The 1st Georgia Volunteers, which the Greens were a part of, suffered heavy losses in Atlanta, and also suffered losses during the battles of Crenshaw Mountain and Samara Church. So there's two separate monuments placed in honor of the Irish Jasper Greens in the cemetery. The first one was dedicated by the United Daughters of the Confederacy in 1904, and the second was dedicated in 1910 and is believed to stand on the ground where the men were killed in action and are buried at. There's more than 800 Confederate soldiers in that Catholic cemetery, which the vast majority of them are Irish Jasper Greens. So what makes this button one of my favorites is that it has the winged maiden form of the harp. And the winged maiden form of the harp was the standard symbol of Ireland in the 18th century. And with the rise of Romantic nationalism, the harp was increasingly personified as the female symbol of Ireland in her struggle of political independence, meaning that it symbolized the struggle against England and its tyranny of the monarch, They didn't want a monarch. They didn't want to believe in Christianity and their gods. They still wanted to believe in little people and their old traditions and the Irish way. Another cool thing about this buttons is that for a Confederate button, it has the wings up. And that's because the Irish Jasper greens do predate the Civil War. And another great thing about this button is you can see all the beautiful gold still showing just right in the places, right in the perfect places, I meant to say. Yeah, so if you're going to buy this button, you want to be very, very careful. It's made by a company called Benedict and Burnham, and I'm going to show you the back of it here. And what makes this button special. So you see above the shank here, there is an eagle in between two ribbons. And that's what you want to be looking for. And you want to be looking at all that detail that's in that eagle too. You know, and all that detail that's in all this. Please don't buy this button off eBay. It's too expensive. You know, and then it has the Benedict and Burnham marker with the shank. There's not too many buttons. There's not too many of these buttons in this condition I have ever seen. And this is basically like gold. It's worth more than gold. This button would range you between $1,600 to $2,000 depending on the seller because of the quality, because it's a dug button. The shank is attached. It's an Irish Brigade button, you know, with the original harp on it. And it's just absolutely beautiful with great history. If you're interested in the Irish Jasper greens and more of their stuff, check them out. They have a great history. This is my button, and thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something.